47-year-old Texas woman went to jail for a slip-up on probation. Weeks later, she was gone. Not from violence, not from a long sentence, but from a slow collapse that should have been stopped. Her name was Holly Barlow-Austin. In April 2019, she was picked up for a probation violation tied to a misdemeanor. In plain English, that means a judge had put her on community supervision after a minor offense. And something in the rules, maybe a missed check-in, a curfew, a fee, triggered a violation. That can put you in a county jail while the court sorts it out, even if you're not facing new charges. Holly was booked into a local jail in Texarkana that Bowie County contracted out to a private company called LaSalle Corrections. Facilities like this hold people for short stretches, days or weeks, while their cases move. They're supposed to be the safer, simpler side of the system. A place to wait, to see a judge, to go home. And like every jail in America, they're legally responsible for your basic medical care from the moment you step inside. From day one, Holly told staff she needed medication and ongoing care. She had serious health conditions and prescriptions she took every day on the outside. That's not unusual. A lot of people walk into jail with blood pressure meds, insulin, seizure meds, or treatment for chronic illnesses. The jail's job is to keep those treatments going without interruption. But in Holly's case, the handoff broke down. According to the lawsuit her family later filed, her medications were delayed or denied. Requests for help sat unanswered. She saw nurses, but not a doctor who could get ahead of her decline. And behind those decisions, the suit alleges, was a simple, dangerous calculation. Cut costs wherever possible. This is where the timeline tightens. Over days that turned into weeks, Holly's condition worsened. She grew weaker. She grew sicker. People around her saw it. She complained of pain and symptoms that should have triggered urgent care. In a well-run jail, that's when staff move fast, send someone out to a hospital if needed, and document every step. Instead, in this facility, documentation was thin, checks were missed, and supervision was stretched. LaSalle Corrections, for its part, has operated facilities across the South, pitching counties on savings and efficiency. But saving money in jail usually comes down to staffing and medical care. How many people you hire, how long they're on a shift, how quickly you move someone to an outside hospital. Every minute and every ambulance ride costs. And when the incentive points towards shaving those costs, the risk to people like Holly climbs. By early summer, the situation reached a breaking point. Holly was finally sent to a hospital. Her family saw her there and understood this wasn't a minor setback. It was a catastrophe that had built up over weeks. She didn't survive. She never had the chance to stand before a judge and explain the probation violation that started the whole chain. After her death, her husband and her mother brought a civil rights case against LaSalle and others involved in running the jail. Their claim was straightforward. The people in charge showed deliberate indifference to Holly's medical needs. In human terms, they say the warning lights were flashing, and those lights were ignored. The case put internal practices under a microscope, everything from medication logs to staffing levels, and tied her decline to a broader pattern of corner-cutting inside the facility. Why does this matter now? Because Holly's story isn't a relic from the past. It's a lens on a system still running today. Across the country, thousands of people sit in local jails on technical violations of probation or parole. They're not there for new crimes. They're there because a rule was broken. And every one of them depends on the jail to keep them alive and reasonably healthy until their day in court. Texas, like many states, leans on private companies to manage some of those jails. When a county signs a contract that rewards lower costs, the company has a built-in push to do more with less. If oversight is weak, if audits are superficial, if medical complaints move slowly, the margin of error shrinks. The people paying the price are detainees who can't walk to a pharmacy, or drive themselves to an ER. They can only ask. Legally, the Constitution doesn't bend for budgets. Jails must provide adequate medical care to people in their custody. The standards sound simple, but in practice, it's only as strong as the staff on duty, the policies they follow, and the accountability that kicks in when something goes wrong. Holly's case put that entire chain under public scrutiny. It forced local leaders and the public to weigh the true cost of a cheap jail bed. In the years since, you've seen counties rethink contracts and families press for reforms, require faster medication verification, staff more licensed medical professionals on site, and make outside hospital referrals a medical decision, not a financial one. You've also seen lawmakers question whether technical probation violations should land people in jail at all, especially when the risks of custody can outrun the danger of letting someone remain at home under supervision. Holly Barlow-Austin didn't get a jury trial. She got a jail stay that became a death sentence. Her story lays out a simple, urgent choice for every county that runs a jail or hires someone else to do it. Protect people in your custody as if their lives depend on it, because they do. And when someone's health starts to fail, move. Don't wait for the cheapest option. Don't hope it clears up by morning. The difference between care and delay is measured in days, sometimes in hours. In Holly's case, it was the difference between coming home and not coming home at all. After Holly died, her family did what most families do in that kind of shock. They asked how a minor probation issue, the sort of thing that usually means a court date and a warning, could turn into a funeral. They went looking for answers, and the trail led back through logbooks, call notes, and the quiet places in a jail where decisions get made about who gets seen and who gets told to wait. The picture that emerged wasn't dramatic in any one moment. It was the slow drip of missed doses, sick call slips that didn't trigger real care, and a pattern of shrugging off warning signs until there was a crisis. Underneath it all sat the simple math of a contract: how much a private company gets paid to run a jail, and how much it spends on nurses, doctors, and medication. LaSalle Corrections is one of several companies that sell counties a promise. They'll run the jail more efficiently. The pitch is order, savings, and fewer headaches for local officials. But when the pressure is to keep costs down, the corners that get shaved are often the ones you can't see from the outside. Overnight staffing, on-call doctors, backup plans when someone's condition turns complicated. By the time anyone treated Holly's condition like the emergency it was, too much damage had already been done. She didn't get the steady, basic care her health required. She got delay, confusion, and at the end, an ambulance ride that came far too late. She left custody not because a judge set her free, but because a hospital admitted her. Her family filed a civil rights lawsuit. In plain English, they argued that people in charge knew she was in trouble and did not act with the urgency a human being in their custody deserved. Lawyers call that deliberate indifference. It's the legal way of saying you can't look away when someone you're responsible for is slipping into danger, especially behind a locked door they can't open. As that case moved through the system, depositions and records pulled back the curtain on the daily life of a for-profit jail. Staffing rosters that looked thin on paper, medication logs with gaps, policies that sounded thorough but broke down on a Sunday night when a nurse had 5 people to check and only a few minutes for each. None of it was a secret to the people working there. It was just the rhythm of the place. For the county, the aftermath brought its own reckoning. When things go wrong in a privately run jail, there's a familiar tug of war. The company points to the contract and says they did what they agreed to do. The county points to the company and says that's why we hired you. Meanwhile, a family is left to hold on to a name and ask why no one moved faster when it would have mattered. Holly's story landed in a wider American moment. Across the country, jail deaths have been rising in recent years. A lot of people behind those walls aren't serving prison sentences. They're there on misdemeanors, on probation violations, on charges that haven't been decided yet. Many have chronic illnesses, or they're in withdrawal, or they're living with conditions that take steady attention. Jails were never built to be hospitals, but they've become the place where serious health problems show up and need care right now. That's why this isn't just a tragedy from one cell block in Texas. It's a test of a promise the government makes every time it locks a door. If the state takes your liberty, it accepts a duty to keep you alive and to treat you when you're sick. That duty doesn't change because a contract was signed with a private vendor. It doesn't change because the jail is crowded, or the budget is tight, or the medical card is late. There's another layer here that matters. The reason Holly was in custody wasn't a violent offense. It was a probation violation tied to a misdemeanor. Technical violations, missing an appointment, failing a drug test, not paying a fee, send thousands of people back into custody every year. For many, the risk isn't prison time. It's exposure to a system that can't manage their health. In that light, every decision to jail someone for a technical slip has to carry the weight of what can happen if care fails. In the years since her death, counties and courts have started asking sharper questions about how these contracts are written and watched. Some places have pushed for minimum medical staffing, written in black and white, with penalties when those numbers aren't met. Others have shifted medical care to local hospital districts, where there's more oversight and deeper resources. None of that brings back a single person, but it can change what happens to the next person who presses the call button and says, "I need help." Why does it matter now? Because the pressures that failed Holly haven't gone away. Rural counties still wrestle with tight budgets. Private operators still sell efficiency. Chronic illness is still common behind bars. And the lines of responsibility, sheriff, county commission, contractor, medical director, are still easy to blur until something goes wrong and everyone says it wasn't theirs to fix. There's a straight, simple standard to hold in mind. If a mother, a son, a neighbor is in a cell, they should get their medicine on time. If they show new symptoms, they should see a real clinician. If those symptoms get worse, they should get to a hospital without delay. That's not luxury care. That's the floor. When you look back at Holly's last weeks, the most haunting thing is how ordinary the missed chances were. A form here, a phone call there, a choice to wait until morning. Each one felt small to someone in a hallway making a fast decision. Stacked together, they were fatal. History isn't just wars and elections. It's also how a society treats the people it holds. Holly Barlow-Austin's name belongs in that record. Not because she was famous, but because what happened to her shows, in plain human terms, what it means when a system confuses saving money with saving lives. Her family's fight for answers won't fix the past, but it can warn the future. The next contract signed, the next policy drafted, the next time a guard knocks on a cell door and asks, "Are you okay?" Those are the moments when this story matters. If we learn anything from April of 2019, let it be this. Custody without care is a risk no community should accept, and no family should have to bury.